Little bubble. Hey beautiful souls, this week I'm going to be talking to you about Reiki. So if you would like to hear about Reiki, then please stay tuned. I'm going to be talking a bit about my clients' experiences with Reiki and some of the history behind Reiki and what is Reiki. So if you'd like to hear about all of this, then please stick around. And without further ado, I'll get into it. I've got some stuff written down on a piece of paper because it helps me stick to the point. So basically, what is Reiki? So Reiki is universal life force energy, and it is in everything and everyone. So Reiki, basically, I'm a Reiki master and Reiki practitioners as well, and everyone, absolutely everyone has Reiki, the ability to move Reiki or to use Reiki. Look at it this way: if you fall over, hurt your knee, scrape your knee, instinctively rub that area which you've just hurt. Or if your little child has fallen over and hurt their elbow, then you'd instinctively rub that area for them to make them feel better, and they would feel better. This is you're instinctually using Reiki. Like, everyone can use around about 10% of Reiki, 10% to 15%, or depending on your spiritual path, your spiritual growth, and the vibration that you've raised yourself to. But yeah, the average person who isn't attuned to Reiki can move about 10 to 15% of Reiki. So that is like I was saying, if your child has hurt its elbow or something, or sprained its toe or its knee, or tripped over and grazed, then you instinctively rub that area and they do feel better because you're instinctively using Reiki on them. Another thing about Reiki, and it's all to do with energy. So everything in the universe is energy. We're energy, animals are energy, trees are energy, everything, crystals are energy. So basically, Reiki is all about attuning into that energy to bring well-being. So if you look at it this way, we all have energy systems in the body. Some call it chakras, some simply just energy centers, or other various names. So the energy system of the body mirrors the blood circulatory system. So if you know something about that, basically, if the blood circulatory system gets blocked up, then health problems arise. And the energy system is exactly the same. If your chakras or energetic pathways which run between the chakras and energy centers, if your energy system gets blocked up, then problems will likely arise, whether they're physical, mental, or spiritual. That some form of issue will arise in the same way as with the blood circulatory system, because it's all about keeping the energy which runs through your system, your energy system that runs through your body. It's all the aim is to keep it all clear and at good health, and this is why we use Reiki. So what else have I got? So basically, another important thing to know about Reiki shifts you between different states of being. So most people are naturally in a fight or flight state. So the fight or flight state, it is basically caveman mentality. So basically, fight or flight, it's pretty self-explanatory. A bit on edge, agitated, a bit prickly, and when go into deep meditation, or when you experience Reiki, you will then be shifted into rest, digest and restore state of being. So it's a big difference. And when you're shifted into that state, then your body is in its utmost state of relaxation for it to heal itself. So once you get into that deep state, which Reiki naturally puts you in very quickly, then your body heals itself. So I've wrote a quote here, so let's see if I can get to it. So basically this is a nice quote that I think you may like. So the quote is, "I have the power to heal myself. You have the power to heal yourself. Together we have the power to heal the world." So again, it's just the same theme, that it's helpful to know, or it's important to know rather, that when it comes to Reiki, that I'm not a faith healer. If I offer you Reiki, I'm not offering to just magically cure you of some illness. What I am offering to you is to be a channel for Reiki, so that Reiki will flow through me into you, so then the Reiki triggers your own natural healing ability, so you're healing yourself. That is what Reiki really does. And basically, if enough of us are out there doing Reiki, healing each other or helping each other to heal, and we can also use the Reiki to heal the earth. That is what that is saying as well. So you can Reiki absolutely everything. You can Reiki your food, you can Reiki your tree, you can Reiki your crystals, you can Reiki your home. You can use Reiki to absolutely do. You can even Reiki the water of your shower head. So if you're taking a shower, as the water's dropping down, you can Reiki that water. If you're attuned to a symbol, you could give it a symbol. But yeah, it's just good to Reiki everything. And that is giving yourself self-Reiki as well. Another important thing to know about with Reiki is the 5 precepts or principles of Reiki. So basically it's just kind of like the rules, or similar to the 10 Commandments. It's just something rather, it's not as a strict, it's not, because Reiki is not a religion, it's more a way of living and a way of helping each other to heal. Although if you're following the precepts, it just helps you it helps you to tune into the Reiki energy, and it helps you to just be a better vessel for the Reiki, because you're upholding virtues. So I'll just read it for you. So this is word for word what the founder of Reiki, Dr. Usui, he wrote these precepts. The secret art of inviting happiness, the miraculous medicine of all diseases. Just for today, do not anger, do not worry, and be filled with gratitude. Devote yourself to your work, be kind to people. Every morning and evening, join your hands in prayer. Pray these words to your heart and chant these words with your mouth. Usui Reiki treatment for the improvement of body and mind. Dr. Mikao Usui. So those are the 5 Reiki principles. So you can break them down into simpler terms, such as do not, just for today, do not anger, just for today, do not worry, just for today, do your work honestly, and those sorts of things. And just for today, be grateful. And so that's 4 of the 5. I like to remember it in a different way. One of the gurus, believe it's Sadhguru, it's kind of a quote that's on a similar wavelength. It's today wherever I go, I will bring love, joy, peace and grace. So it's just a simpler way of simplifying the 5 precepts. Of course, Some people like to memorize it, like back in the good old days, in the olden days, when people were first, when Reiki was first being rediscovered, that was 100 years ago. Dr. Mikao Usui, he rediscovered Reiki 100 years ago. Having the, we just had the 100-year anniversary this year. So that was when Reiki was rediscovered by Dr. Mikao Usui, and his followers and his students, they'd likely recite the precepts morning and daytime, probably, or at least once every morning. So basically, just reciting the precepts, it helped them to tune in, like I was saying earlier. So next, I'm going to give you a bit of feedback which I've received from my clients. I specifically practice Usui Reiki Holy Fire free, and I've also started using Karuna Reiki as well. So yes, it's very interesting. And here is some of the feedback which I've got from my clients. And the feedback which I'm going to tell you now, I've literally got this feedback from a session today. So after the session, the client sent me a message and said, "This is pure verbatim. I truly walked out feeling much lighter in my energy and soul. I still feel it, and it's so uplifting. I don't want it to go." So it just shows you, like, that is some of the nicest feedback I've received. Although I always ask the client after the session how it was for them, and if they've had any experiences, because different people experience Reiki in different ways. So some people will experience sensations, hot or cold, magnetic tingles, stuff like that. You can have other sensations too, or different experiences. Some people may giggle, some people may have a gassy or unsettled feeling in them, because that is the energy being removed, or that is just because of the movement of energy in the body. So there's lots of different ways of experiencing Reiki, so it's going to be different for everyone. And also, another important thing to remember is the sensations that you receive from the Reiki don't indicate the level of help that you're receiving from the Reiki. So if you're not feeling anything at all, that doesn't mean that you're not receiving the Reiki and that the Reiki is not working on you. So it's just something to bear in mind. And that's just because different people have different levels of sensitivity to energy. So if you've been doing lots of energetic work, then you're likely to have more physical sensations. You're more likely to feel the energy as it moves around your body. And if you've been doing spiritual or psychic work, then you're more likely to see colours or have memories resurfacing, stuff like that. You can experience all sorts of things when you're having a Reiki session or treatment, or even a Reiki attunement. So that's the next thing that I will speak about. I'm a Reiki master teacher, so that means I'm able to do Reiki placements and attunements. So with a placement, the placements and attunements are slightly differ. Although this can depend on the type of Reiki which you're being attuned to. There's quite a lot of different forms of Reiki. As I told you, I practice Holy Fire, Usui Holy Fire Reiki. So there is some people practice Angelic Reiki. Like I said, did mention Karuna Reiki as well. So that is similar. I'm sure there's more other traditionals. Some people just practice Usui Reiki, so that is like the traditional form of Reiki, based on the teachings of Dr. Mikao Usui. He was the guy who rediscovered Reiki 100 years ago. He was a monk. Another important fact to remember when it comes to Reiki is that Reiki can do no harm. Reiki is a positive energy. Its very essence, its very purpose of being is to bring well-being, to bring health, bring joy, bring virtue into people's lives. So Reiki can help transform many different things. You can use Reiki to send it back to your younger self. That's a good thing about Reiki. You don't need to send it in person. You don't need to be in the same room as the person that you're sending Reiki to. I can send Reiki to someone who's on the other side of the planet, for instance. And some people even attune their students in this way. They attune their students, or give them a placement or a Reiki experience. Some people do it over video call or Zoom. So yeah, some people even use an item as sort of like a trigger object or a vessel. So they'd place an attunement within a crystal or a teddy bear, and then they'd pass that object to the person they want to attune the Reiki to. So then the person receives that item and they've then become attuned to the Reiki. So Reiki is very subtle and it's very flexible. You can do lots and lots of things with Reiki. But the main thing to remember is Reiki cannot do no harm, because it's a vital good force for good. Also, on that note, although Reiki will not purposefully do any harm at all, it is good to be aware that some people may have a healing crisis. So like I said, everyone reacts to Reiki differently. So if Reiki feels like you need to deal with something, then Reiki may pull something up which is uncomfortable and etc. Like it may bring up painful memories because it's working on healing those, or it may bring some form of ailment that you're suffering that you didn't know about. It may bring that to the forefront, so then you can seek more medical attention. Because Reiki, that's another thing to bear in mind. Reiki, I practice Reiki as a complementary therapy, so it's not meant to replace Western medicine, because yeah, I'm not a massive fan of Western medicine, although it's just more thorough if you're ticking all bases, using all options that you've got available to you. Also, another thing is Reiki works well with various other energies. So you can use Reiki with crystals, for instance. Please bear in mind that crystals are their own type of energy, and like I said earlier, there's angelic Reiki as well, so that fuses Reiki with angelic energy as well. Or there's using crystal angels and crystal healing and etc. etc. There's maybe people who use aromatherapy and mix it with that. There's people who mix hypnotherapy with the Reiki. There's people who mix massage therapy with Reiki as well. So there's lots of options really for using Reiki to help people, because that's what it's for. So you can use it with other forms of treatments. And another thing I'd like to mention as well is it's a good thing that there's Reiki practitioners, Reiki masters out there, because like at times like this, when there's pandemics and when there's hospitals that are overrun, it's good that when the doctors and GPs and hospitals are overrun, that then people have some place else to go, because one part client of mine, it was a couple of days ago, a lady came in and she was having breathing difficulty, and she was saying that she'd rang up her doctors, or she's been into her doctors, and that she had to wait 5 weeks before she can even see the doctor. So while she's in discomfort now, while she's feeling awful, like, she's out of options because her GP cannot see her for 5 weeks. So basically, it's good that there's therapists like me, who are complementary therapists, who can then step in and help the people while they're suffering, basically, because it's just good that there's people like us around, and that more and more people are now acknowledging alternative therapies and complementary therapies such as Reiki, Chinese medicine, and the vast array of other alternative and complementary therapies and holistic treatments. So yes, this lady, like, afterwards she told me that she was seeing the colour green, and she was right away when I was started the Reiki, she immediately felt the ease and release in her chest, which had been tight and uncomfortable. She felt that release which the Reiki energy had given to her. So it's just so good to hear success stories like that, and to hear such brilliant feedback, because it's just so upsetting when you hear stuff like that, that there's an old lady, bless her, who was my client, and she's waiting such a long time to see a doctor when she's in pain and she's suffering. Like, I really hate to see people suffering. So what does a typical Reiki session look like for me? So the client information form, it spells out for the client that though I am a holistic therapist and Reiki master, I am not a doctor. So if they have any major concerns, then feel free to take their issues to someone who is qualified with a PhD or whatever. It's basically a legal disclaimer, so it just covers our back. I've not heard of anyone having adverse effects to Reiki. As I said, Reiki can do no harm, although some people may have a healing crisis. Although I've not personally experienced anything like that as of yet. It's a legal disclaimer, and it just shows people that if they're wanting to have a Reiki session, then they are the one who's liable for it. So after the client information form, also the client information form, it helps you if you see a repeat customer, if you see the customer coming back, then it helps you to see the progress of that customer, or it helps you to see the progress of that client. So you may, how painful is your condition at the moment, so you might have a 1 to 10, so then if you do that every time, then you'd be able to see the progress. So after the client information form, you'd then take about 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how thorough you want to be, to tell the person about what Reiki is, what it is that you do, how you'll be doing it, etc. So you'll explain all of that. Then after that, I then invite the client to lie on the massage bed, or the Reiki table as you call it sometimes. And then I dim the lights, close the curtains, I ask them to lie in the bed, I'd ask them to lie on the massage table, let them get comfortable, tell them that they feel free to move or speak, don't feel like they're trapped there. And then I'd begin to go about the Reiki healing session. So with the healing session, I usually don't have any contact, because that's the great thing about Reiki. You don't need to touch the person. You can touch the person if you have that person's permission, because it depends on the client really. Some clients would like you to, they probably like the physical touch, and it's probably, to them, they see it as they're getting the Reiki directly. Although, like I've mentioned previously, you can send Reiki to a person without even being in the same room as them. You can be on the other side of the planet and send them Reiki. I would send Reiki into the different energy centers, send Reiki symbols into those centers. I'd use a Reiki invocation such as Reiki, 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 love, 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 or I call upon Reiki from beyond the seven heavens, or Reiki, holy fire, Karuna, thank you, thank you, thank you. So those are a couple of the Reiki invocations that I use. So the Reiki invocations, they just help you make that connection, and it helps remind you as well. It reminds you and the client that the Reiki isn't coming from you. The Reiki comes from the universe, and it is there is an infinite supply of it. So rather, if you were sending healing directly from yourself, then you would likely become depleted of energy. But there's an infinite supply of Reiki healing energy from the universe. So that is why we tap into the universe. That is a brief of an average Reiki session. Something else to bear in mind is when there are 3 different levels if you want to do Reiki training. So there is the beginner level, so there's Reiki of the 1st degree. So the Reiki, 1st degree Reiki is mainly where you become attuned to Reiki, then you can practice using Reiki on yourself, and then in that first level, Reiki then works with you directly. It clears out your body, your energy centers, your energetic pathways, it clears you out, so then you become a more suitable vessel for the Reiki. So then you can hold more and more Reiki energy inside you. So that's what happens on the 1st level. The 2nd level, you get to do more in-depth things, such as using the Reiki symbols. So the Reiki symbols are very special, and they are often kept secret. Although, I guess it's less strict now, because we have social media, so if you type in Reiki symbols, it'll come up on Google, or it'll come up on Instagram, because that's just the sort of age that we're in, the modern world, where everything gets posted online. Although, the thing to bear in mind is that those symbols will not hold the same power for someone who is not attuned to the symbol. So if you're going about using the symbol, you shouldn't really, although no one can stop you, but just know that to have the full power of the symbol, you need to be attuned to it by a Reiki master. So that is the 2nd level. On the 3rd level, that is the Reiki master level. So then you learn about teaching other Reiki students, you learn how to attune other people to Reiki, and you get a few more Reiki master symbols, or the ultimate Reiki master symbol if you're just doing like a regular Usui. If you're doing Usui Reiki, then you would get the master symbol for regular Reiki. Although if you're doing a holy fire Reiki like I am, then you would also get the holy fire symbol, which is an additional one. So I've not really spoken much about holy fire. So basically holy fire is, basically it means, there's various meanings depending on who you ask, but holy fire Reiki was created by William Lyran. So he is one of the guys who's made Reiki quite popular in the past 10 to 20 years in the Western world. So William Lyran, he's kind of taken off from Dr. Usui. He's revived what Dr. Usui's been. He revived Dr. Usui's work in a way and progressed it to suit himself by making a couple of other Reiki systems to help people and to help more people, and with more Reiki symbols. So yeah, holy fire, basically I've heard different things from different sources. One source, like Andrea Kennedy, she's also on YouTube, a brilliant channel and resource for Reiki. She says that to her, holy fire just means to become whole. It doesn't have a religious connotation. However, when I received my Reiki Master manual, I received some sheets of paper, and on the sheets of paper it's basically like a magazine article about holy fire, and it was written by William Lyran, the guy who created the holy fire system. So basically on that it's mentioning Moses and the burning bush and connecting our holy fire practice to the burning bush of the Bible. So that kind of does have a religious connotation. So I'm not saying Andrea Kennedy's wrong or anything. I'm just saying that how I'm seeing holy fire is it means different things for different people. And my personal belief with holy fire is that holy fire is a very transformative energy, and I tell my students that holy fire can be whatever you want it to be. It's very transformative in that way. Like my personal belief, because I am a pagan, an eclectic witch, so I like to work with the goddess Hekate. So she's a torch-bearing deity, meaning she brings her fire and her light into the dark places, and that is another connection for me. So when I work with holy fire, I think of the goddess Hekate, because fires, basically fire is Hecate's thing. So yes, that has that connection for me. So it's just useful to bear stuff like that in mind when you're working with different traditions. We're in a different age, and it's always going to mean something different to different people. So just go with whatever resonates with you, is what I'm saying. Hello beautiful souls. So if you enjoyed this video on Reiki, then please give us a thumbs up, please leave a comment and share it with a friend.